Multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Marvel Mondays. This is your host, Tex-Mex Morty, and we're trying to get the crew in, but as of right now, let's see who we have in. We have Miss Cap joining us. How you doing, Miss Cap?
Doing all right. Ready to talk about the atrocities that has been spoken of and watched in the past 2 weeks.
Ah, Jesus, man. Already starting off bad. My co-host just sent me, are we still doing the show even though we literally told him that we're starting at 7? Oh, man. Where is my thing? We gotta sound this because off to a rough start so far.
What the fuck, y'all? God damn!
I know.
Yeah, that's how I feel too about both what we're gonna discuss about and about my co-host who suggested 7 o'clock, and we said, "Cool, sounds cool." And now a minute later or ago, he's like, "Hey, we still doing this?"
Yeah, we all agreed.
Well, it can't be a welcome to Marvel Mondays if something's not going right.
It's true.
It's like it's finally not on my end, and then it's like everything else. Oh, man. But yeah, like I said, let's see. For some reason, JT is having some technical difficulties himself again. Let's see if he could figure it out. Hey, JT, you still there? JT?
No.
No. I wonder if I have him muted or something.
He's
No?
here, but still can't. He can hear us, but he can't speak. Yeah. I don't know, try different headphones, JT, or something. Switching over to a different application or something. That's probably best.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we do, let me get the little board up real quick, as it's Labor Day here in the States, so we decided to take it easy today, not take completely the day off, but as you could even see, since we did have to, unfortunately, reschedule last week, due to some things coming up, we are just going to reuse some of the assets from last week. So my bulletin board isn't up to date. It only has the mention of She-Hulk episode 2. But there are we are going to be discussing both that and the third episode, which seemed to spark some debate online, which I'm pretty sure is going to probably spark some debate on here, between the team of us who are just like, what is going on, and the other team who's, I'm pretty sure my co-host is gonna be out there defending this. But let's see. I don't know. I haven't talked to him over the weekend, so I don't know how he feels about this so much. But while we wait for the other two people to come in, Mr. Oyman and JT, because unfortunately Mr. Johnny Joestar won't be with us tonight. But even then, let's go ahead and just start off with a couple of little what's out this week. So For Disney Plus members, if you didn't get to catch it, Thor: Love and Thunder will actually be dropping in for you guys on September 8th, which should be Friday, right?
Yep. Thursday, Friday.
Yeah. Thursday. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be Thursday. So it's going to be dropping this Thursday for those people. And over the weekend, Disney is going to also be... Oh, I hear someone. Who's there?
Oh, me!
Oh, you made it!
JT.
He's in my phone, so
You're cutting in and out, but hopefully that'll fix.
That's an improvement.
Yeah, I'll take some audio versus no audio.
No. Wait.
But anyways, could you hear us, JT?
Yes, I can.
All
Hear
right.
me?
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
Clear.
So I was just saying that Thor: Love and Thunder is going to be on Disney Plus, and for anyone else, there's also going to be D23 going on this upcoming weekend. I believe it is the 9th, 10th, and 11th, where there will be different things, Marvel related, of course, that are going to include the comics division, a lot actually from the just Lucas and film and Marvel division of the gaming departments, which to me is going to be extra exciting. And of course, they are going to have, I believe, on Saturday the 10th, they are going to have the what's it called? Some little things here and there. We don't know to what extent of stuff regarding Marvel Studios themselves.
Ooh.
Okay.
So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. And if you don't get to catch it in person, or don't care enough to go look for the information yourself, be sure next week we will be discussing that pretty extensively. That's probably going to be the main topic. Hopefully not She-Hulk episode 4. So don't do it, Disney. Don't don't make us talk more about She-Hulk, and because you didn't announce anything super interesting.
What the fuck, y'all? God!
But anyways, now that we have some of y'all in here, I already introduced Miss Cap, but how are you doing, JT?
Again, this computer problem is driving me nuts. This is the second week, and the microphone isn't. But I'm here, and I am so excited to talk about She-Hulk.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to hear where you're at, because last time you were an enigma to us, and with how divisive the last episode has been for some of the fan base, it gets me wondering. I was just watching it, and I'm like, oh man, what is going on in JT's mind? So I guess we'll just go ahead and just dive straight into it. We'll start off with kind of like a between the two episodes, or the three that we've gotten, where we're at right now, and then we'll get into like individual type episodes. But Miss Cap, how are you feeling about the show now that we're a few episodes in?
So, when I said the first episode, I was like, oh, I'm pleasantly surprised. This may actually be pretty good. And then I get to episodes 2 and 3, and I'm all like, oh, God. I'm tongue them. Let's just say that. I don't know. I know it's like, it's a kind of, they're putting something out there that's new and it's different, and, it feels like they're testing something out with She-Hulk, but it's not coming off great.
I could agree with that. It definitely just seems more like they're just putting out this just to put something out. I just don't feel like there's because I know that people claim it's a comedy, this and that. I feel it's more of a parody than anything, not quite a comedy. And if it is trying to be a comedy, it just comes off a little bit weird to me. But it just feels like it was just a plug-in thing. Like they're just like, all right, we need something for this month. Just scrap together something. Because up until right now, with the 3 episodes we've gotten, I still don't know what the heck this show is really about, really. Other than her, obviously. Other than She-Hulk. But I just don't feel like there's much of a plot going on. I don't know what's going on.
Episode 3 kind of teased that there's something more about to happen, but you're already into this where you're just like, do I even care who like the big bad person is? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really just, I'm like biting my own tongue. I was like, oh, first episode. Wow, this actually is different. Oh, pretty cool. And then it's just like, oh God, what are they doing?
All right. And before we get JT's quick initial thoughts, I do see Mr. Oyman is in the entered the chat. How are you doing, Mr. Oyman? Could you hear us? It sounds like he cannot. All right, so we'll jump to you then, real quick, Mr. Oyman, JT. Just brief initial thoughts. How you feeling up to right now?
Actually, while I'm watching She-Hulk, of course, with Miss Cat by my side, I am pleasantly enjoying the crap of it just because it doesn't make any sense, but it's kind of a breath of fresh air to know that Marvel can put something out here called social memes that we're going to talk about in episode 2 and 3 as you guys see all these memes and all these like cam that we're going to talk about in a minute. But and I'm just having a great time. I think this is one of the weakest MCU shows up to date. But hey, I think this is just filler. Something that okay. I mean, right in our this degrading men to a standard where it's so low that even the lowest of the low can't go stoop as low as it is. And so, I mean, to me, it's fine. Other people is crap. I'm just like with the popcorn ready. It's kind of fun. At the same time, it's kind of pretty bad at the same time. So
Why are you the way that you are?
JT, I still don't know what's going on. Your overall thing sounds like you're describing something pretty bad. Yeah, you're saying you're enjoying it? I'm still confused, man. I don't get it.
It's bad entertainment, right? You sit there and again, she's breaking the fourth wall, but at the same time, it's so bad.
Can you all hear me?
It's kind of good.
Yeah,
So
we
bad.
hear you, Mr. Oyman. Can you hear us?
Okay, cool. Okay, sorry, keep going. I
No-
could hear you all, but I was talking and nobody could hear me.
Oh, okay, yeah, I don't know, you're probably muted or something, but no, JT just went, so now that we have you, gonna ask 2 questions. How you doing to begin with?
Uh-oh.
What? Man, I sound like those old Verizon commercials. Could you hear me now? Could you hear me now?
All is here today. You got Miss Cap and Mr. JT and Mr. Tex-Mex Marty.
Yep.
Yes.
And I don't know, do we got you? Because you keep coming in and out.
Come on. Speaker. Fucking shit. Okay, there we go. Sorry, technical difficulties, everyone. I'm happy to be here, a part of Marvel Mondays. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. So,
I know, right?
Mr. Oyman, so we were just, before we dove into both episode 2 and 3, we were just giving, up to now, what our initial thoughts, now that we've gotten a couple of episodes in, and where we were giving our initial thoughts of how we feel about it. Do we even know where this is heading to? What's overall impression? Just a brief impression from you. You still there?
Hold on. Okay, there we go. So what are y'all talking about?
Jesus. Let me repeat it one more
Sorry,
time.
like my phone keeps cutting out, but now because I'm driving, but I can hear you all now.
All right. So we were just going over, before we get actually diving into it a little bit more, we were going over how we feel up until what we've gotten. Like, now that we got a good sample size, how we overall feel about the show, and do we know what's going on? Or, of course, She-Hulk. What else is going on right now?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's
how
true.
we feel about She-Hulk, Do we know where it's going on? Do we even care to know what's going on? So on and so forth. We were just getting everyone's initial thoughts. And now it's your turn. So I wish I had that soundboard. Well, we're waiting. Yeah, we could hear you. We're waiting for your.
Yeah.
We're waiting for your impressions.
She-Hulk.
Okay. So my overall thoughts, my impressions on the show. Okay, so I liked episode 1. Episode 2, I was like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on here? Nobody's talking like a real person, even within the MCU. I was like, this whole thing is a fucking parody. What the hell is going on? Now, by episode 3, I realized, okay, yeah, this whole show is definitely a satire of not only the superhero genre, but the MCU as a whole. And to be honest, like, it's not like some amazing it's definitely not amazing television, but I feel like the show so far has been very it's been very consistent with She-Hulk as a character, and I personally really like what they're doing with it, even if it is like it doesn't feel like it's set in the same MCU that we've seen so far. It's definitely like a over exaggeration of what the MCU is. So while I can see why a lot of people might have a problem with how they're portraying stuff so far, me personally, I do feel like that's kind of how the She-Hulk comics have been in terms of like portraying the Marvel Universe in comic form. They're definitely over exaggerated and definitely focus on like the satirical aspects of it. And this newest episode that just came out a few days ago was probably my favorite. If I'm being honest, like I really, really liked it. I thought it made me laugh more than the other episodes have. Probably made me laugh more than any episode of any Disney Plus TV show has, to be honest. And I'm curious to see where they go now. I know that they brought up like, oh, there's some new boss that's hiring the Wrecking Crew. I personally think it's going to be Tim Blake Nelson's the leader that was teased in the Incredible Hulk from way back in 2008, and they've never followed up on it. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what it feels like it's going at, because they've definitely referenced the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie, both with Emil Blonsky and Bruce Wayne or Bruce Banner being a whole different actor and all that. But overall, I'm definitely enjoying the show. I understand if you're not enjoying it. Like, I can totally see where you're coming from. But for me personally, I'm enjoying the fuck out of it.
All right, so quick question before we move on.
What's up?
You did mention that it doesn't feel like it's set within the rest of the MCU.
Yeah,
it brings a little a weird like dynamic that is really splitting some fans, because it just comes off weird. Like, is this supposed to be real? Is this not? What's going on? Is this in her head? Do you think? Oh shit, he left. Well, I'll still ask it. But do you guys think that this should have been
more?
That this should have been more like.
Okay, now you're back.
I was asking, like, do you think that this should have been more like that Spider-Man freshman year, where it is in the MCU, quote unquote? It just is in an elsewhere world, like, not saying like Earth 838 we saw in Multiverse of Madness, but do you think it should have taken place somewhere where they could have taken all these weird liberties and it not be conflicting with the overall thematics that are going on in the main 616 movie Prime show universe?
Yeah.
Do you think that would have been better, or do you guys feel like it doesn't matter? Like, you could still bring She-Hulk over from that universe to this one. Obviously, we've seen Tobey Maguire and such come over from their universes. Do you think they should have done it that way, or do you think this will either make sense eventually, or just say fuck it and not even bother explaining what the hell's going on?
Honestly, I think it's better they just say fuck it and not even try to explain further, because, again, this character of She-Hulk, she's supposed to be kind of like Deadpool. Was Deadpool set in the Prime X-Men universe? I mean, kind of, but no, not really. He was kind of set in his own, like, alternate version of the X-Men universe, and I see that sort of the same thing with She-Hulk here, set within a alternate version of the main MCU. Like, yeah, it's dealing with shit that happened in the MCU, so it's clearly in the main MCU, but it's all told from Jennifer Walters' experience or from her perspective, and she sees the whole thing as kind of like a big joke. Like, okay, I just want to be a lawyer, now I have to deal with all of this superhero shit. And
Yeah,
I kind of like how the show is sort of calling all of that out in a
But
way.
don't you guys think it might be a little bit conflicting, especially with like characters like Deadpool and her, that eventually you're gonna have to have them interact with other characters, and
Oh yeah,
them-
100%.
Yeah,
I
them
mean, I
showing
agree.
up.
I
Like, how
definitely
weird would
think
it
it's
be?
going to be conflicting. It's
if-
definitely conflicting with the rest of the MCU. for
Yeah,
sure.
but like, how weird would it be if like you're watching Kang Dynasty and stakes are high, and then She-Hulk's in like a group shot, and she's like, "Oh, shit's about to pop off," and then it's like looking at the camera, just talking to us.
Well, I don't think that they'll when they introduce She-Hulk in other like Avengers level movies or something and other team up things, I think they'll just play her very straight. I don't think they'll have her like breaking the fourth wall, talking to the camera and all that. They could. I prefer they don't, because you're right, that wouldn't really
Oh man, we lost them. We lost them, guys. Let's give it 3 more seconds. But then after he goes, I want to hear more or less how you guys feel about that same question. All right, Mr. Oyman is still not back. So how do you feel about that same question, JT?
I mean, I think to me, I kind of agree with Mr. Oyman. Just say fuck it, just like let it be within the MCU, because she's already in the MCU and she's more or less related to stuff then that happened between 2008 and now, and so making you to kind of bring Hulk in the alternate dimension, and it's kind of be weird and awkward. But the Avengers level threat type situations, I think that I agree with Mr. here that she'll be straight. I think it should take things a lot more serious when it comes to Avenger level, because she's a lawyer. So lawyers are kind of high stress situations, and she knows to handle situations. And so I think she'll be just fine. But within her own show, she can do whatever she wants. And so I think this is what she's doing now.
Do you agree with that, Miss Cap?
Yeah, to an extent. I just think that this like everything after Endgame is just such a mess that she kind of just fits right in. Like, you can't say like this happened during this time or this happened this year. Like, you don't even know what year it is. MCU.
Oh, it's 2024.
Is it?
Like late 24. Yeah, it's late 2024, because they say it's 4 months after. It's basically 4 months. Takes place 4 months after Shang-Chi happened, which was like in April of 2024. Now this is like happening in the tail end of 2024.
I was saying, just the timeline is just so off that it's like it doesn't matter if it's a parallel and dimension or whatever. If it's even if she is from it just wouldn't really matter. And I feel like it's just like this reset that after Endgame is just like you don't know. It's 5 years, 4 years past the time that we're actually in. So it's just like it's. And then they don't really mention the sort of time. I don't know. I just feel
It
like
definitely
it's just
takes
like it
place.
doesn't matter.
It takes place after No Way Home, because Wong is already the Sorcerer Supreme. It probably takes place after Multiverse of Madness as well. So I would imagine it's actually taking place in like mid 2025, because No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness, that all took place in late 2024, early 2025. And at this point, Wong is already Sorcerer Supreme. Hulk is already the Hulk again, or at least Smart Hulk. Like, he doesn't have his arm injured anymore. So I personally think that this show is supposed to be taking place in like at least early 2025. Only because No Way Home and Hawkeye and all that took place at the end of 2024, and this is supposed to be taking place after all that.
God, man,
sounds so confusing.
2025 needs to just
confusing.
get here so that Secret Wars comes here and just hits that reboot button. Because man, even for a guy that's been keeping up to date with everything like myself, it's starting to get a little bit confusing. And we all have that Spider-Man Homecoming thing to blame when they fucked up the the fucking dates, and then you're like, oh shit, what is going on? What's what? And then all these graphs started showing up trying to explain a bunch of different shit. But
Personally, I don't think it really matters what year the thing takes place. I mean, it obviously takes place after Shang-Chi because of what was revealed at the end of episode 2, but I mean, I don't think it technically really matters that much because the whole thing is supposed to just be a parody of like the MCU as a whole and kind of showing like how people are dealing with shit after the blip. Like superheroes are on the rise. There's a lot more superheroes because of the blip, which is possibly leading to mutants. Do you guys think that they're gonna kind of touch on the whole mutants thing that was set up in Miss Marvel in this show?
I probably don't. I personally don't think they will. So far, there hasn't been anything that would point in that direction.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're getting a bunch of just street level people that don't necessarily have powers. Like we know Frogman is coming. We know Daredevil's coming. The Wrecking Crew.
Wrecking Crew.
Just
Johnny Blaze supposedly is coming, but I mean, it might not be Johnny Blaze. It's supposed to be something related to Ghost Rider. It's hard to say though.
I hope it's one of his like carnival buddies or something, and not actually him. Because, like you said, the parody nature of this. Well, the parody nature of this is everyone automatically seems to become a walking joke themselves, and not every character has to be a walking joke. Leave that to certain characters like She-Hulk. She's fine. Even like Spider-Man, but Ghost Rider, I don't really want to see him be all wacky and funny, and like he could have a couple quips here and there, but
There's the joke in his first movie with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, that's not something to really strive for. I mean, it was good for an early 2000s movie, but I mean, this is a literal dude whose realm is usually like hell and stuff, so I don't know. Dealing with the type of stuff he's dealing with, I don't really want to see him in the same type of humor that She-Hulk's bring. Again, it could have its own dark comedy type humor, and it's his own project or wherever he shows up. But the type of humor that She-Hulk is bringing, I'd rather not see Ghost Rider deal with that type of shit.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
But all right, so let's get in with episode 2. It seems like it sounds like some of the episode 2 might be some of the panel's least favorite episode. Why would you guys think it's one of the weaker ones?
I think from episode 2, also with she becomes She-Hulk and she released it to the world, and then because of it, lost her job, and then have this superhero vision pop up where she becomes a lawyer to like Eli Roth, who's Abomination. That's like ties into the Incredible Hulk. Kind of funny because after episode 2, me and Cap we watched Incredible Hulk, and we was like watching it. We was like, it's not technically a bad movie now. I mean, like Hulk is kind of, and everyone does a really good job of playing the Hulk, not necessarily bad, but the overall premise of the Hulk, Incredible Hulk, is really good. Episode 2 was just kind of boring. Didn't really have a lot of action to it, so I think that's why it's kind of boring.
Would you agree with that, Miss Cap, or what is your take on episode 2?
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy episode 2. The only thing I really enjoyed was like Bruce acknowledging that he was a different person way back then, and honestly, that's probably the only thing that brought me joy. But everything else was just kind of like, it's like the aftermath. Okay, she find out she's a Hulk, and then she loses her job, and now she's just like, well, I have to take whatever I can get now. And it's just like, she just eventually becomes what she said she didn't want to become. So, I don't see how that goes. I mean, even like going into episode 3, it was just like, the aftermath of what happened in episode 2. So it kind of flows, but I was just not feeling it.
Yeah. So why would you say, Mr. Oyman, that episode 2 is the weakest one in your opinion?
So episode 2, I didn't really have that much of a problem with it. I did think early on in the episode when She-Hulk is at the bar and everything, and Dennis, her co-worker or whatever, was like, "Oh yeah, there's a hot chick. I'm gonna go talk to it." Like at the time, I was like, okay, that is probably the worst written line in the entire MCU. I thought it was way too on the nose.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I was like, nobody even in the MCU nobody would talk like that. Because the MCU has always had like a sense of realism to it in terms of how the characters talk. Yeah, it's very much a movie. It's like they're all movies. They're all comic book movies. But the reason why MCU is so popular is because they've managed to kind of keep themselves a little bit grounded, just a little bit, enough to get most audiences engaged with the storytelling. And so while I didn't like that whole on the nose, kind of like showing how much of a piece of shit this guy was, it kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. But then seeing what they did with him in episode 3, it kind of like made me go back and be like, okay, well, this show isn't even trying to be realistic at all. It's not trying to be grounded. It's purposely trying to be a parody. I mean, Jennifer Walters even says like, know what kind of show you guys are watching. This isn't a cameo of the week every week, even though it is. And so at that point, I realized like, okay, this is supposed to be very tongue-in-cheek. It's not supposed to be the same exact representation of the MCU that we've had up till now.
See, and that's why that's why I personally have a problem with it, because it's like you said it. You said it.
But that's the thing though, because like episode 2, I wasn't like even with her and her family and everything. Like I didn't even like the way they introduced her family and everything. But by episode 3, I kind of was on board with it, and I saw what the show was actually trying to be. Like, it truly is trying to be a comedy. It's not trying to be, like, I mean...
Well, all these movies nowadays are comedies.
Hold on. While I could see why some people would have a problem with the way that it's portraying stuff within the MCU, because it does take place within the MCU, it's portraying things that are going to have ramifications within the MCU. I just saw it throughout this whole, like, comedic parody lens that Jen Walters is putting on the show herself, because that is what She-Hulk does. Like, if you read her comics are significantly more silly and goofy than any other Marvel comic besides like maybe Deadpool. Like, they're definitely supposed to be portrayed in a comedic light. And by the 3rd episode, I was like, okay, I can see what they're doing here now. It just took me a couple episodes to get there.
But that's where my problem is that you said it earlier that the MCU as a whole so far for the past 12 or so years, probably even more, it's been pretty grounded. It's been, the universe has already been set. And I don't really like to compare it to her comics being that way, because her comics, you could mess around a lot more with the comic books, because there are different universes, there are different genres, there are different things that her comic book could be its own thing, and it doesn't really like affect the rest of the comic universe, while as in this case the tone of this universe has been set, and the events of this show do have direct correlation and ramifications to what will happen in the rest of this universe. So
that is true.
It becomes this weird dynamic where is it like, do you want us to take it seriously, or do you want us to think everything is now a comedy? Like, which is it? If I want to have the MCU be a complete like parody of itself from now on, just let me know, and I guess I'll go in watching it that way.
This show is letting you know, though. It's just this show that's taking the piss out of the MCU as a whole. Going forward, the MCU is going to go back to how it usually is, with like taking itself mostly seriously with like some humor here and there. This show in and of itself is supposed to just be Jen Walters' take on like, trying to live her law degree and now all of a sudden being thrust into this whole superhero universe. She sees it as being just completely mad and crazy, and I love how this show is actually kind of reflecting on like that. Like it's very much a personal view on how the world is through her eyes. And yes, it is very much a parody, but for this show in and of itself, I can accept that. Now, if any other show or movie were to take like the same kind of view on stuff, I'd probably have a problem with it. But for this, I like how the MCU is trying to branch out and have a different feel on things, and I also see this as kind of a template for how they're gonna portray Deadpool 3 and bring Deadpool into the MCU.
Yeah, see, I've been fearing since they bought Fox to bring Deadpool in. I love the character, but I like him when he's kind of on his own.
I agree, but I think you could do a lot of good with Deadpool in the MCU if you like make similar kinds of jokes and take jabs at how the MCU is in general. I mean, that's why I personally don't have a problem with it, but I can see why a lot of people would have a problem with it, because they're like, well, this is inconsistent with what the MCU has been giving us. Like, even the silliest of, like, Guardians and Thor and all that, like, even those still have a sort of sense of realism or groundedness to, like, really give you that kind of levity that the MCU is used to giving you, and this She-Hulk show does not have that at all. I'll admit.
I just wish
I personally kind of like that, though. It gives it a very different flair to the.
I wish
to the
it was a
MCU
little
that we're
bit.
not used to getting.
I wish the whole fourth wall in this thing was a little bit more subtle. Kind of like they did. I'll give 2 examples. They did it one themselves right here in this show, where what's it called? Hulk, like Miss Cap mentioned earlier, they're talking on the phone, and he mentions a little joke within the MCU that he's a changed person. He was a completely different person than he was back in 2008, because he really was. Like something like that still breaks the fourth wall, but it's done a little bit more subtly, where it's not like could be taken as a not direct way. Or my second example would be I don't know if you guys have seen Avatar: The Last Airbender. Towards the end of the show, they have a recap episode where they break the fourth wall, and they have a play about what the show's been doing, and they have the actors basically do very on the nose, very stuff like that, but it still fits the realm that at the end of the day they're watching a play which makes quote unquote the events, but it doesn't feel like it's 100% breaking the fourth wall. It's like wink wink, we are, but we're not. So I wish it was handled like those 2 examples more than just straight up, oh yeah, no, this is a parody, this is what we're doing, I'm gonna talk to the camera, and it's not even like a office type of recording style. But I don't know, me personally when it came to episode 2, well, I do agree with Mr. Oyman that the dialogue was not very natural. It came off both her family and that douchebag dick Twitter persona dude. Like he comes off as like some fake troll on Twitter, but what's it called? I feel like outside of that dialogue, episode 2 was probably the one that I actually think was better than the other 2. Just because it's the only one that I feel had some sort of substance to it. It just, what's it called? It was consistent, I guess, with its whole episode. It was starting to show how she's feeling, how she's dealing with these things, and how she's gonna overcome these things. And I felt like it was starting to act. Yeah, I was starting to feel like it was actually going somewhere, kind of laying a groundwork for the show, and then give her the Abomination case, and I was like, okay, this actually is starting to get kind of interesting. And then episode 3 happened, where it just completely had what I feel almost no direction. The whole interesting part
I disagree wholeheartedly.
The whole part with the what's it called? The Abomination, I feel was just wrapped up within 5 minutes, because this whole episode, if you include,
I will say about episode 3, I actually so in these types of shows, when they were saying things like, oh yeah, Wong has to be there to admit guiltiness or whatever, like basically the whole trial with the Abomination, I was fully expecting it to go like not her way. She wasn't gonna win this case. It was gonna go south and all that. And in reality, it actually got wrapped up nicely, where Wong did show up, and the council did approve Emil Blonsky's leave from prison and everything. And I actually thought that was kind of a relief because that sort of stuff, like, it almost seemed too easy, right? Like, we were all like, oh, wow, she won her case. Her first case with Emil Blonsky, she actually got him, like, parole. And yet all the world wants to talk about is her fucking diet and exercise resume and all that.
But I
and,
feel
like, but I actually like that the fact that it went down the way that it should have gone, but not the way that anyone was expecting, because you know that it's going to come and bite her in the ass later on. They were like, oh, well, as long as you don't turn into Abomination anymore, then we'll let you free. But we already know for a fact that he's going to turn into
but
Abomination again.
What I don't
because they already
like,
showed in the trailers that he's like Abomination wearing a shirt and all that.
what I don't like though is the fact that it just felt a little rushed. It felt like they were actually at the end of the second episode gonna have an episode devoted to this, and maybe not the full episode, but again, these episodes, after you take out the credits and the basically
Like
forced
25
previous,
minutes, 20
yeah,
minutes.
it's like 20 minutes, and there's two
Short, I will give him that.
and there's two storylines going on. So each storyline is, what's it called? Each storyline is just like 7
Splitting
minutes
the time
long.
that could be focused
Yeah.
to one.
Yeah, so it's like I'm not gonna completely dismiss that second storyline. There were some like slightly haha moments, and it could make for something interesting. But I feel like when you split them up both within 20 minutes, you get about 10 minutes each, and no one story really gets their moment to actually for you to take them in. As soon as they're brought in, they're basically resolved within a few minutes. So there's no letting them digest. There's no breathing room. And it just, I don't know. I feel like I would have rather seen a little bit more, what's it called, development with the case with the Abomination, rather than that Asgardian lady that brought in Megan Thee Stallion
Yeah.
for some reason.
my
Like,
gosh.
out of all the things, it just felt like not even
Totally
like.
mind it, but I can see why it wouldn't. I absolutely could see why it wouldn't work for some people.
Yeah, but I don't understand why use that as a vehicle to bring that person in. Like, did I miss something? Was like I would have understood it more if they mentioned Jen like listening to her music earlier or something like that. But the fact
Oh, I
that
see what
it's
you're saying, yeah.
actually Megan
Well-
Thee Stallion in the MCU
Yeah.
as Megan Thee Stallion, it felt weird to me.
The whole Megan Thee Stallion thing was pure. I mean, that was sort of like an in-joke between the people making the show, because the actress, Tatiana Maslany, is a huge fan of Megan Thee Stallion. And when the girl who plays her friend, Nikki, was like, oh yeah, the actress anyway, was like, oh yeah, I've worked with Megan Thee Stallion. I can get her on the show. So bringing Megan Thee Stallion on, I mean, most of it was just to show, like, oh yeah, Dennis is an idiot for thinking he could pull someone as big of a name as Megan Thee Stallion, thinking that she was actually into him when that wasn't the case. Like, I get that was the original intent, and they just went with Megan Thee Stallion because that's who Tatiana Maslany was like a huge fan of, and like was actually nervous to meet on set and all that.
Yeah, but at that time,
personally,
should you make a joke for the show of an inside joke between you guys when the rest of the world doesn't know your joke?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of funny seeing people react to the show. They were like, wait a minute, is Megan Thee Stallion like supposed to be a Marvel character? Like, they didn't even know that she was a real person. They probably should have just gone for someone like Nicki Minaj, who's a little bit more well known than Megan Thee Stallion, and that would have been a little bit like more of an obvious, like everyone would have caught on to who that was supposed to be. But Megan Thee Stallion being slightly lesser known, but still a pretty big name in the entertainment industry, I thought it worked, but I could totally get why a lot of people would be like, what the hell was up with that?
Yeah, because even when you have the whole, like, I first opened up the damn early in the morning on fucking Friday last week. I opened up
Thursday,
or Thursday. Yeah, there you go. On Thursday, I opened up social media and I just bombarded with a bunch of random ass shit that I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I just was sitting there like, whoa. Please tell me that in context this makes more sense. And it didn't. It kind of did, but I don't feel, again, maybe if they had more than just 7 to 8 minutes to that case dedicated alone. I feel like it could have been a bit more of a payoff to that just crazy.
Okay, personally, okay, so I'll say I'm actually glad they did not spend more time on that. I thought they spent the perfect amount of time. If they had spent more time on the whole Megan Thee Stallion thing, I thought it was already kind of like pushing it for how much that they had her like involved in the plot of the story. So I personally would not have added more to it. And to me personally, the whole end credit scene was just like me seeing Jennifer Walters being like, shit, yeah, I signed on a client who's known for twerking, and I'm a big fan of hers. I'm gonna twerk with her, hell yeah. However, like I said like I told y'all earlier, I think it would have been better if they had her doing that scene like in a club where her boss was also at the club and saw them twerking. That would have been funnier as opposed to her just doing it straight up in her office. Either way, I thought it worked. However, when I was watching it, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna make a lot of people very upset." It's not gonna work for everyone, but I thought it was pretty
you
funny.
knew it was gonna kind of get me a little bit ruffled, didn't you?
Fuck y'all! God!
Like, it doesn't necessarily make me mad. I was just in disbelief. I'm like,
Well, that was the point of it. The whole point was
this-
like, holy shit. Like, even the creators of the show were like, let's put something in the MCU that nobody will be able to believe.
yeah, but it's like, I don't know. It feels like
It fucking worked. People were outraged.
It feels
Which
like
is so funny.
Yeah, but at the cost of your actual fan base, like me, being confused. Like, I'm not gonna outrage the same way these guys on this side is
But that's
outraged.
because a lot of people saw it on the internet before they actually watched the show and saw it as a throwaway gag in a post-credit scene, just like many post-credit scenes in Marvel.
But like, I was just sitting there, and I'm like, so now, even if it's post-credit scene or not, in canon, She-Hulk was
Hell
twerking
fucking
with,
yeah, dude, that's
with Megan Thee
She-Hulk.
Stallion. Like, I just
That's She-Hulk.
to me, it's to
Marvel
me, it's
made her
not.
jump rope naked. What's the difference?
Yeah, and again, I chose not to read those type of comics right there. But even then, that like canonically, there's thousands of issues of comics. The movie verse is a little bit more self-contained, and now within the smaller sample size, we have this shit where I was like, "Ain't no way, man!" Like,
Honestly,
I personally don't have like, I'm not outraged, but I'm like, it's a dumb joke for me personally. I didn't really find it
was
funny.
dumb. I will say it was dumb, but seeing like when I was watching it, I was like, okay, this is gonna piss a lot of people off. And then throughout the whole day of Thursday and Friday, I saw so many people getting just like outraged over it. Not necessarily you, but just other people like in general getting outraged over it. And it honestly made me love it even more. I went from liking it to loving it because of how much outrage it caused.
It's just so stupid.
See,
It was stupid as hell. That's why they put it in a post-credit scene, though.
I'm the
Also,
opposite.
like, it's
I
also
would.
stupid for other people to be outraged about
Yeah,
it. Like,
but
it's
see-
just like, it's stupid. But then
That's
this
the
is
problem,
She-Hulk,
though.
and this is
It's just
how
She-Hulk
it's
twerk.
shown.
It's a celebratory twerk.
But I'd rather they
Yeah.
not do it because, again, you say it costs more outrage and that make you like it, but it made me hate it even more because now we have to listen to those people like legitly get mad, and we already have a problem with the outrage culture. I don't want to be feeding the trolls and keep giving them stuff to go on about. It gets annoying after a while. But
I mean, yeah, but like, I also like that Marvel's taking the risk, though, right? Like, wouldn't you rather they take the risk instead of playing it safe? Being boring and safe to me is like not as preferable as like taking the risk and making something that'll outrage a whole bunch of incels.
Yeah, but if this hits,
Yeah.
we're gonna get a little bit more cheap humor like this throughout the series, though. That's my fear.
We
that
had cheap humor like this, though. We had Tony Stark peeing in his suit and being like, "Yeah, you can drink that water."
yeah,
Like, that's
well,
literally no different.
yeah, but he like that's more or less what a drunk person would act like. But even then, I didn't find that funny. I was not a huge fan of Iron Man 2, and that's
true.
what I'm
Not a
saying.
lot of people like that movie.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if we enable that, we might get more of that instead of something a little bit more clever, something a little bit more more. Again, I don't want them to just start doing dumb jokes because they know it's gonna piss another fan base, or I wouldn't even call them fans because they're getting angry about the stuff they love, but pissing people off. Like I'm not here for that. I'm not here to join some sort of MCU social media wars or anything. I'm just here to watch a good show, and what I watched, I was just like, what the hell is going on? It felt like I had a nightmare or something. Like, did I go to sleep and I'm just watching what Johnny Joestar's what's it called?
Oh my gosh.
Sexually depraved mind would come up with?
In his subconscious, sexually depraved.
Subconscious.
It's just Mr. Joestar's dreams. In reality,
That was hilarious.
he's over there with his tissues and the elbow lotion or whatever he said last time. It's like, what is going on? But
No, people here. All over.
but back to where I was originally with episode 2. Another reason is because it had more of, like, again, the type of Easter eggs or cameos that I personally liked a little bit more. Because, again, I take the reference to the Celestial's big old head from that crappy-ass Eternals movie, or the Wolverine
I love
reference.
that movie.
Or the Wolverine reference instead of Megan Thee Stallion. Like, I want this, not this. Granted, it's not always going to be what every single person wants because you can't please everyone. But it's just like, I don't know. I feel like they were going somewhere with episode 2, and then episode 3 was just like 2 different stories. Felt like a SpongeBob episode where it had the weight and the resolvement.
Oh,
like,
totally. I agree with that.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay.
It was goofy as hell. There was no levity to it. It was totally a parody. So the way I see it, it's like you're either on board for that or you're not. One of my friends called me the other day, and he was like, hey, can you tell me what happens in She-Hulk episode 1? I keep trying to watch it, and I keep falling asleep. And I told him, like, straight up, I don't think you're going to watch this or like this show, because he told me he saw the twerking scene. He hated it. I was like, I think you should just bow out. Don't even bother.
Yeah, but that might bite him in the ass later down the line. That's the problem,
Well,
though.
he said, he's like, well, I want to watch it because I want to be up to date with the MCU and everything. And this show does like allude to Hulk going off planet and all this.
Yeah.
other big
Oh,
stuff
that's
that
the
we
other
have.
big thing about episode 2 that a Easter egg that I was gonna ask about you, and I'll ask you first, Mr. Oyman, since you're gonna be leaving us soon, most likely. With that,
I got to get going soon.
where do you think they're gonna be taking the Hulk after he puts down the phone and talks to Jennifer Walters and says that he has his own business that he has to take care of, and he's back in that Sicarian ship, and he's heading out to, obviously, probably back to Sakaar. Where do you think they're going to go from there?
Well, I think they're going to have him come back sometime later in the series. They'll have him admit to having a son, whether it's Scar or something else, some iteration of Scar. They might be combining Scar with the Hulkling, who is technically a Skrull in the comics. They, might want to bring him in as part of the Young Avengers. And they'll probably have Hulk come back from Sakaar and be like, hey, Jen, I found out that I had a son while I was Hulk for 2 years. And that might be all. Could be wrong, but I mean, he's definitely going to come back because Mark Ruffalo's not wasn't supposed to just show up in those first 2 episodes. Like he's gonna come back sometime in the show.
So do you
I
think
imagine if he does come back, it'll have been after he had visited Sakaar.
do you think it's going to be like the Planet Hulk storyline, but they're probably going to call it World War Hulk, or do you think they're going to do something completely different?
Well, it's MCU, Disney. Like they'll do something different, but they'll probably call it World War Hulk. And
Yeah, but
combine aspects of both storylines of Planet Hulk and World War Hulk.
Well, with World War Hulk, you can't really do it because Meek is not Meek, Korg is not Korg, the Illuminati's not even into play, and what's it called? That's what I'm saying. Like
but they could still have the Hulk come back and he's super dangerous, so they have to send him off to another world where he becomes Maestro and all that. Like, they could still do something like that.
I think they're gonna go to like that Planet Hulk where there's like the Red King and he's like a hostile takeover of the planet, and he's basically holding everyone like under a dictatorship, and they need Hulk to kind of rally up the people and have a revolution and such. But I do think that they will bring his son into play, because if you remember, like a year or two in Sakaar is like 30 years somewhere else, or reverse, whatever the thing is. Like
Pretty
2
much.
years somewhere else
Reverse.
is
So yeah, like 1 year on Earth is like 30 years in Sakaar.
yeah. So they could use that as an excuse to have his son be grown up and
Yeah.
what's it called?
They don't have to
Yeah.
worry about Baby Hulk and all that.
Yeah. So do you think they'll go that route, JT, or do you think it'll be something? What do you think?
I think again, that's speculative about why he went Planet, but like Planet Hulk is the right choice, especially with Mark Ruffalo's character and his character development, like we talked about a few episodes ago. And I mean, I feel like it's the right choice. I feel like I agree with Mr. Oyman. He's going to be back close to the end of the series. Tell Jen, hey, I have a son, and this or that. But I feel like that's what the MCU is going to be about in Planet Hulk.
And do you want to see something like that, Miss Cap, or what? How would you handle where he's going?
I kind of wish to see something like that. I think they're slowly kind of taking him out of the picture to have someone new to come in. So that could potentially be something like that, like they're doing with Hawkeye. Like he's kind of moving out of the out of the spotlight, and a new person is coming in. So I think it's going to be something like that.
Okay. Well, it just with the tone this show's going, like, is season 2 gonna be like, or at the end of this season they're like, guess what, Jen, you're an aunt, and then he's gonna be like teen angst Scar, just joining the family, and then you're gonna have like a season 2 be like She-Hulk, the Hulk family, and then just be like like Modern Family or something, just with a bunch of Hulks, or like what?
I think that She-Hulk is going to end in a way similar to Ant-Man, where it's like, okay, hey, they want you to be a part of the Avengers now because Hulk can't be there, for whatever reason. Like I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I feel like it's gonna end in a way where it's like, hey, She-Hulk, we want you as part of the Avengers, which would be exciting, but also I can see where a lot of people's concerns would be that, well, this character has been breaking the fourth wall. Her show is set in a more comedic universe than the actual MCU. So how's that going to blend in? However they handle it, I'm interested to see. It might honestly not work. And if it doesn't, then oh well, life goes on. But I do see it ending with her being like, because they mentioned in this third episode, like, oh, is it true you were rejected from the Avengers? And it was like, that was a total just gossipy headline that never actually happened. But I could see it ending with her actually being either a member of the Avengers or maybe alluding to the Fantastic Four like they did in the comics, but I kind of doubt they'll do that.
Well, who knows? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you have like the Fantastic Four doing trials or something, and she tries to try out for them, but then gets recommended to the Avengers instead. But I don't know. I just with episode 3, I want to hear a little bit more, because we heard Mr. Oyman, your take and my take for the most part, but I want to hear the dynamic duo of Miss Cap and JT, what they overall thought, because they didn't seem to be too fond of episode 2, but did episode 3 change y'all's mind like it did for Mr. Oyman, and it just got you saying fuck it and just go along with it? Or are you more in my camp where it was like, I'm still on the fence and this isn't really helping its case?
What the hell is this?
It's a no for me, man. I'm like JT, where I'm like enjoying it, but also like hating it at the same time. I'm just like, get it, the jokes are there, it's funny, it's not supposed to be, something that we're supposed to take seriously, but also, God, I hate it. The one thing I'm just like really just being so fed up with is like all the guys in the show are all dicks, and I hate it with such a passion. It's like every guy she comes across, or like every person she's like worked with, it's just like a terrible person, except for Pug. Apparently, Pug is just sympathetic person.
I wouldn't be surprised if that guy has a dark
Pug.
side too.
He's from the comics.
But
Pug
it's
is
just
from the
like
comics.
every other guy except for Pug is just like a total dick, terrible person.
Just walking
And
Twitter
talks
people.
down to people. Just,
Well, really only
uh,
Dennis is, and maybe the Wrecking
irritates
Crew.
me.
What did you say, Mr. Oyman?
Well, I said really only like Dennis and the Wrecking Crew are the only like real dicks of the show. I mean, her boss is kind of like, you know, he's a typical lawyer boss. That's how any of them would be. But yeah, I do see it. It's definitely taking its shot at men, but I feel it more is just taking its shot at like misogynistic men, not necessarily men as a whole.
Yeah,
'Cause
but
I
do
think
we
as
need,
the show
do
goes
we need
at
to
least see a
we'll
few
I mean, like,
that are not like that.
Yeah, but like, do you really want to see that every single episode, Mr. Oyman? It's
Yeah.
like after a while, you're just beating a dead horse.
no, I do not. I definitely do not. I hope the show dials back on it as it goes forward, because I do agree. I think that doing it every episode would get very old very fast.
Yeah.
What about
No,
you,
it- I do
JT?
have-
I do have to get going, by the way. I do want to appreciate you all for letting me be a part of the podcast. I'm sorry that I couldn't be here on longer, but I do have to get going.
Oh no, you.
I hope to be a part of the
No, you're
podcast
fine.
next Monday as well.
Yeah, you definitely. I do want you there because we're gonna be doing
You
the
all hear me all right?
D23. Yeah, we're doing D23 next week. But
Oh
thanks.
yeah, D23, and I want to give you all my my impressions of the Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh
extended cut,
yeah,
which I saw
we
over
were
the
we
weekend.
were
It was a
gonna
lot of
we were
fun.
gonna actually ask you that at the beginning, but what's it called? We got the thing rolling to just try to not make this a long episode.
Do you want to go into it real quick before I leave?
Sure,
And
if you
go
got
back to the
time.
She-Hulk talk?
I will say I appreciate you coming in, and if you got a minute, go ahead and describe what was in that, and then the rest of us will get back to She-Hulk. And Mr. Orman has left the building. It's like, he got everyone all like, all right, I want to hear what happened in the more fun edition. Oh,
Hold
wait,
on.
he's back. He's back.
Oh,
There we go. Okay, I'm back.
All right, give us a brief
Sorry, it's
rundown
raining
of
out here.
what the more fun edition was.
Okay, so the Spider-Man No Way Home More Fun Stuff of edition. So there were like a handful. So there's about 10 to 11 minutes of extra footage in the whole movie, including the last post-credit scene. I'd say there was like some of it that I could definitely see why they cut, because it definitely slows the pacing down of the movie in the first half of it. Mostly with like a sequence with Betty Brant is like interviewing everyone about Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man, including the teachers and Flash and Ned and all that. But I like this sequence because it kind of, first of all, it gave Betty more to do in this movie in general, because she wasn't really in the original version at all. But I liked how this version kind of gave her a little bit more prevalence, and it gave her a little bit more closure with her and Ned's relationship from the prior movie, Far From Home. Most of the movie was like little, short scenes here and there that I honestly don't know why they cut out, because I really liked them. And I think the original cut of the movie, like, it kind of made more sense, the scenes that they added in. A few of them, they felt more like deleted scenes, kind of just added in for the sake of it, but most of them I would have kept in. So overall, out of like 11 minutes of footage that they added into the movie, I probably would have kept maybe 7 to 8 minutes of it.
Okay.
And then the rest of it, I could have been fine with just seeing as like a special feature. But I really liked it a lot. It kind of made me appreciate the movie even more than I already did, because I already think it's a great movie. But I personally liked all the extra little bits that they added up.
I wonder why they cut him out too. Like you said, it would have only been like 7 or so minutes, so it's not like that would have had people be like, you know what, I'm no longer gonna go watch that movie.
It was just timing. They want to keep. I mean, the way I see it, they want to keep these Marvel movies closer to 2 hours as possible. And this More Fun Stuff of edition was like close to 2 hours and 40 minutes. So without it, it's like 2 hours and 29 minutes. So I can see why they cut out some stuff. They wanted to keep the runtime as short as they could while still making the story make sense. But I personally felt like the extra scenes they added in were like fun enough to where I could see them justifying releasing a whole new cut of the movie, which is why I have not bought it yet, because I had a feeling they would do something like this. And like I said, some of them do feel like deleted scenes that were added into the film probably should have been deleted. As funny as they were, they probably didn't really fit with the flow of the rest of the movie. But a lot of them, I'm like, why did they cut that out? That easily could have been in the original cut and would have worked fine. Yeah, no, it was fun. Just seeing it on the big screen again was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
what do you recommend? How long is it in theaters till?
Ooh, I don't know that. Maybe just this week. But it was the #1 movie at the box office this weekend, so who knows? They
'Cause
might
there
keep
was
it out for
nothing
a
else.
couple weeks.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
again, I
it's-
paid $3 to go see it on Cinema Day, which was worth it in my opinion. If you were paying a full price, like $12 to $15 ticket, I don't know about that. But then again, I don't know if they're gonna release it on DVD or Blu-ray or digital or whatever. So it's hard to say whether it'll be around or not. I think because it was longer than the Far From Home extended version, I have a feeling they probably will release this version of the film. And I mean all the extra scenes they added, like I thought they were hilarious. Like they every single new scene they added was funny to me. Like I actually laughed out loud only at the new scenes they added more so than any other scene in the film. So, you know, if you really love No Way Home and are willing to dish out a little bit of extra money to go see it in theaters again, it's worth it for the new extra scenes, in my opinion. But if you're like, whatever, I can give or take, you're not really missing out on too much.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks for
So,
the
yeah,
breakdown.
That's my take on it.
All right. And do you have to go, Mr. Oyman?
Yeah, I gotta get going. I got a cat in my car, and I gotta bring him
I thought I
inside.
heard
It's
a
raining
cat.
out of here. But hey, it was awesome being a part of the Marvel Mondays. I'm glad that we could come back after not really doing it for a little while. I hope we can do it again next weekend or next Monday. And love you all. I'll see you all soon. All right.
All right. You
See
take
ya.
care. Thanks for
Bye.
stopping by. All right. So, back to
Peace out.
back to where we were with She-Hulk episode 3 with one of the I said sexually depraved Mr. Joestar. I meant deviant, sexual deviant Mr. Joestar. And back to the other sexual deviant known as Mr. Tissues nowadays, Mr. JT. How did you feel about episode 3? Was overall, what was your take? Was the powering through that episode worth the dream come true of seeing She-Hulk twerk, or what do you for you, or what did you think?
I actually
there
enjoyed
tissues?
it. No, I enjoyed the episode. Again, I kind of like the flow of this episode. There wasn't any breaks. It was just continuous motion of Jennifer was trying to figure out what happened to Abomination, and then Wong appeared. How about the case and the side case with Megan Thee Stallion? I thought that was a joke. Again, I kind of worked out the stuff at the end because, again, they're talking about She-Hulk and Megan Thee Stallion working at the post-credit scene. I think that's what Marvel wants. And again, I think as Marvel fans, we are debating, we are discussing a parody that happens to be within the MCU itself, like self-referencing everything from like a Captain America, a Virgin,
I guess
seeing like the 2008 Incredible Hulk. But I think overall, 3 was kind of, I enjoyed it. Again, it's kind of a well-paced opinion, and it had a lot more action than episode 2. So
actually, I wonder if that is what you brought up a good point. I wonder if that is what they're going for, like just creating these weird topics that they know are either going to cause a debate among fans or cause outrage, because like that whole there's no such thing as bad publicity type of deal, because publicity is publicity. So I wonder if they're doing that just to kind of get people riled up and talking, or if that was their intention, or if it was just an outcome of something unintentional.
I think for me, it's more of a publicity stunt because, again, like, all things going to lead up to Secret Wars and the Kang Dynasty, like all the Avengers movies. So maybe as we're talking about it, we might get more reference about what's going to happen in the future, and we're kind of more excited for a future project because this project is an anomaly. so to speak, because other projects besides this one will be She-Hulk's gonna be like the mirror, because like Marvel does such a great job at having one bad product but having 2 or 3 like excellent projects in a row. So I think that maybe like next year or some sort, She-Hulk will be in the back mirror, but I think that when we go back and look at it, like maybe in a few months or so, after, like everything kind of died down, we might kind of appreciate it more. But as now, people dying on it and making fun of it. But again, like what Mr. Orman said earlier, it is a parody of the MCU. This is from Jennifer Walters' point of view of like going as a lawyer / superhero where she doesn't want to. And so I think that episode 3 kind of captures that perfectly in terms of, she is representing Eli Roth, who is a abomination. Everybody knows that in this universe, so to speak. But she's trying to balance it out, and plus she's single, and so trying to live life together, so to speak. And so, it's a typical, but I get what diehard Marvel fans this show and everything. But overall, episode 3, bad entertainment. She-Hulk show is bad entertainment, but I'm gonna watch it because it's Marvel, and a lot of people are talking about it on TikTok and on Instagram, and so we have to watch it just to be self-reference everything.
No.
So yeah, I'm so far, and I would say like I'm not a fan, and I hope that going forward, when she does show up in the MCU, she's kind of a little bit different and toned down in terms of the satire portion of it and the fourth wall breaking portion of it. But it is what it is, honestly. I feel like you, JT, are the mid ground between like me and Miss Cap and Mr. Oyman over there. We're like stepping stones, actually. I'm over here like this ain't it, Chief. And Miss Cap is like, yeah, this ain't it, but I guess I'll just tune my brain out. You're like, I don't give a crap. I'm just going to go in, get my popcorn, and just take it for what it is. And then Mr. Oyman's like, I'm actually kind of enjoying it. Oh, man. But thankfully, it's overall a controlled, like, gauge. We don't have anything like going 0-100. Well, unless we get Slucius. I bet Slucius would just go on a rant over here.
Yeah.
But thank God he's not. I told him, I'm like, don't even bother. Don't even bother. Just pretend it doesn't exist, and move on. I'm almost at that phase, honestly. If they don't really actually tell me what the fuck is going on in this show, like what's the point? Where's this heading to? Why should I care? Like you, Miss Cap, said earlier, why should I care? If they don't get onto it within the next couple of episodes, I might be just having you guys talk about it and me just press the start streaming and stuff like that, and not, because again, it's so far I'm not enjoying it, but I'm not hating it, but I'm not really feeling it. If you guys know what I mean, like it's just I don't know where it's going. I don't have much to discuss about it personally. Like almost zero interest. Well, no, I would say just a little interest, just because I do want to see if this is leading into anything, or if it's literally just like a filler episode within the MCU, but as a whole actual show. What are y'all's closing statement?
It's going to be interesting when Daredevil comes to play, because he is a lawyer. He is a superhero, so he balances both pretty well. So I'm just guessing that.
Wait.
I'm just guessing that baby Daredevil help Walters kind of navigate between being a quote unquote superhero and also a lawyer. That'd be kind of cool to watch. I doubt it, because of the writing has been mediocre at times, but
with the writing how it is, I'm kind of afraid for Daredevil. But What about you, Miss Cap? What's your closing statements on how you're feeling about this She-Hulk up until now? Optimistic for the future, or you're not really caring?
Optimistic about the future, but still would watch it because I'm in it now. I have to figure out what happened, whether it's bad or good.
Or are you on the boat
So
like
I'm in
me?
it.
Are you on the boat like me,
Yeah.
where you give it a few more episodes and then maybe like there is a chance you might just be like, you know what, and just we're at the halfway point. I don't want to waste another half a season on this. Or are you like JT, where he's just in it in the long run because he strangely doesn't care about it but likes it at the same time?
I'm more in JT's boat a little bit. Like this, I'm like I'm gonna keep watching it. I may hate it, and I may hate myself afterwards, but I'll watch it.
It's like the
I'll
strangest
enjoy
guilty
the
pleasure,
the
I guess,
few,
for you
Very
guys.
few moments I may enjoy it.
All
Few
right.
moments.
Well, now we're all sounding like JT. We don't know if we want to do that or we want that. But with that being said, like I mentioned earlier, we are going to be getting a slew of information coming in this weekend with the D23 announcements, and as well as another episode of She-Hulk. What's it called?
What the fuck?
But be sure to tune in. Next week we'll be going back to the regular 7:30 time frame, 7:30 Central. That would be 9 Pacific, and that would be actually
The
5:30 Pacific,
5:30
and
Pacific.
And then
Yeah.
9:30. No,
No.
8:30.
yeah. So whatever your time zone is, 7:30 Central here in the great state of Texas. But thank you so much, listeners, for coming in and tuning in and listening us to be very confusing about She-Hulk. But of course, thanks again to Mr. Oyman for stopping by and making some time while having a cat in a car, which sounds like one hell of a trip. But and of course to you, JT, and Miss Cat for also stopping by and talking about some good old Marvel here on Marvel Mondays. And if you enjoyed what you heard, go ahead and give us a like. And if you haven't already subscribed, share it out to your friends if you feel like they're Marvel fans and like some hard love with Marvel, where we give you our honest takes. But until
Also, one more thing, viewers. If you're listening right now, listen to our episode Howard the Duck. Me as JT, oh man, I spit some
I want to
episode.
hear
So
classic JT. That's the episode.
classic JT.
yes, please.
Well, we're starting to hear a lot of classic JT. But like I said, everyone, thank you for stopping by, and you guys have a fantastic night. We'll see you next week.
You know how much I sacrificed?